Choosing the best hardware sequencer for your style of music making can prove more daunting than buying a synthesizer. If you're not sure how it will fit into your workflow, it could end up as an expensive doorstop in your studio. Fortunately, we'll help you navigate the labyrinth of available options so you can select the perfect hardware sequencer for your needs. This requires digging a bit into the technical details of sequencers. If you're an experienced musician who understands the technology and just wants to compare models, feel free to skip the next section. Is the sequencer for live performance or the studio? For studio use, it's probably more efficient to invest in a larger sequencer with more features. On the other hand, for live gigs, portability and reliability are key considerations. If sequencers are crucial to how you make music, you'll probably accumulate several hardware sequencers for different tasks. How many tracks and outputs do you need? If you plan to make a hardware sequencer the control hub for all your gear, then more tracks and outputs means you can control more devices and create more complex arrangements. But if you merely want to create rhythmic loops for a drum machine or melodic patterns for an external synth, a smaller sequencer takes up less space, costs less, and is easier to use. Do you need onboard synthesis, recording, and/or sampling? Many hardware sequencers include a sampler, multi-track recorder, and/or one or more synthesizer engines. This makes it easy to put together sequences with just one piece of equipment and to save everything offline for quick recall. Some even include a built-in microphone. Also, sequencers with samplers usually include a library of free sounds, including drums, percussion, hits, and loops. More is better, of course. How playable is it, especially live? Older sequencers usually just played back pre-programmed patterns that you created before, but modern sequencers usually provide opportunities to interact in real time, changing patterns, playback modes, speed, stretching sounds, varying swing, and much more. So it's a good idea to look closely at the physical controls. Are drum pads pressure and velocity sensitive? Are the knobs large and easy to use? How clear is the display, if any? Are all options available with one button press, or do you have to navigate a menu system to find what you want? Now that we know what questions to ask, let's look at some real sequencers. 1. Korg CV Sequencer and Syncbox SQ1 Best Budget Hardware Sequencer. If you're looking for a simple, inexpensive, but very usable sequencer, consider the Korg SQ1. Powered by USB or AA batteries, it's mainly a CV gate sequencer with 2 output channels. But it also includes MIDI out to connect with modern gear. As a bonus, it also offers Korg's proprietary sync in and out, enabling Volk owners to chain 2 units without using MIDI cables. And it functions as a MIDI to CV converter. Choice of sequences and outputs. With the SQ1, you can send 2 8-step sequences to different outputs or combine them into a single 16-step sequence. So it's great for executing simple ideas, but for most live performances, you'd probably want to own a few of them. Features include reverse playback, step jump to any step, active step to turn steps on or off during playback, and slide to change the voltage gradually between steps. Voltages are set with knobs, so they can assume any value within the specified range 1, 2, 5, or 8 volts. Simple to use. The SQ1 is quite easy to learn. With a separate knob for each step, you can see at a glance what's going on, and there are no menus to learn and navigate. Pros. Very inexpensive. Great for weird tunings. Easy to learn. Provides MIDI to CV conversion. 2. Arturia Key Step Controller AM. Sequencer best value for the money hardware sequencer. The KeyStep combines a full-function velocity-sensitive keyboard controller with a polyphonic step sequencer. With both CV gate and MIDI output, it can control both analog and digital instruments. The Slim Key keyboard has 32 mini keys and senses both velocity and aftertouch. A versatile built-in arpeggiator operates in multiple modes, including up, down, last played, and random. 8 sequences can be recorded and recalled, and each step can include up to 8 notes per step. Sequence length can be arbitrarily set from 1 to 64 steps. Tie lets you hold a note through succeeding steps, while legato creates steps with voltage changes but no triggers between notes. Another useful feature is real-time record replays to edit sequences you've already created. Practical and versatile. In addition to MIDI note output, KeyStep translates notes into CV gate signals, either volts octave or Hertz volt, available at back panel connectors. Gate on-off can be set as a standard gate or a 5 volts or 12 volts trigger. A third connector, mod, can output MIDI velocity or aftertouch, or the value of the onboard mod strip controller. Because CV outputs are monophonic, but the KeyStep sequencer can be polyphonic, a note priority setting lets you choose whether the lowest, highest, or last note is output. Pros: MIDI and multiple CV outputs. 8 polyphonic sequences can be stored. Includes a full-featured keyboard and arpeggiator. 3. Novation Launchpad Pro Kai 3 Best Hardware Sequencer for Ableton Live. The first thing you notice about Launchpad Pro is its striking interface, with each column of large velocity and pressure-sensitive pads on the ATEX 8 grid lights up with a different color. The Numa key is the latest version of the Pro series. The Novation Launchpad Pro 64 is also available at a reduced price. Optimized for Ableton Live, Launchpad Pro can be quickly configured as a custom controller for any MIDI-compatible software or hardware. 8 custom layouts can be saved and immediately recalled. MIDI in and 2 MIDI out ports are provided, as well as USB 2.0. Feature-packed. It features a 4-track, 32-step standalone sequencer. Each track can have up to 8-note MIDI polyphony. Sequences can be chained and assigned to scenes to build complete songs. Users can modify patterns on the fly with features such as probability, mutate, sync rate, and play order. All this functionality comes in a very compact package that takes up very little desktop space. Just 10.5 x 10.5 x 7.1 inches, 268 x 268 x 18 millimeters. All Novation products come with a generous 3-year warranty. What's in the box? Launchpad Pro ships with a complete production bundle. This includes Ableton Live Lite and a selection of plugins from Softtube, IS, Cleve Grand, and XLN, plus a free 2-month subscription to Splice Sounds, as well as a membership to Novation's Sound Collective plugin sharing program. Pros: 8-note sequencer polyphony, large color-coded pressure and velocity-sensitive pads, 2 MIDI out ports, extensive software bundle. 4. Pioneer Torres Squid DJ Controller, best hardware sequencer for live performance. The Torres Squid is the first standalone sequencer from Pioneer, better known for its DJ gear. Built with the same robust quality as their mixers and media players, it boasts a host of attractive performance features and an intuitive, non-destructive workflow. The top panel is dominated by a 4x4 grid of velocity and pressure-sensitive pads. 6 harmonizer buttons let you create chords from single notes. Program or jam. The 16-track sequencer can record and play polyphonic melodic sequences and chord progressions. Each track can create up to 64 patterns. A total of 128 16-track projects can be saved internally. Phrases can be built quickly using the step parameter knobs, which work independently for each parameter. You can play along with pre-recorded sequences using the performance pads. Alternately, tracks can contain MIDI CC data to control external equipment. Up to 5 MIDI CCs can be assigned to each track. Connect to modern or vintage synths. Hardware connections include not only USB-B, MIDI in, and a pair of MIDI outs, but 2 CV gate outputs clock in and out as well as 2 DIN sync ports. So it's easy to control any vintage analog synths. Other notable features include running direction, groove bend, which adjusts trigger timing to create unusual rhythmic variations, and speed modulation, which alters the playback speed. Pros: polyphonic sequences, large memory for project storage, tracks can contain MIDI CC data. 5. Teenage Engineering OPZ sequencer, most creative hardware sequencer. Teenage Engineering does things differently. The OPZ combines a sequencer with 8 onboard synths and a sampler, though it can also serve as a 3D graphics and lighting controller. It has one mini audio jack for line-out or headphones, and a USB-C for playing external MIDI gear, charging, and file transfers. All this comes in a very compact package. Just 2.26x 8.36x 0.39 is 57x to 112x 10 mm box. Control just about anything. The OPZ sequencer has 8 audio tracks assigned to different components, such as kick, snare, percussion, or bass. Additionally, there are 8 control tracks for effects, the tape recorder, lighting, etc. Each track can be independently set from 1 to 144 steps long, so they loop at different rates. Even more, each track can play at its own tempo. Individual tracks can jump cut back and forth irregularly and randomly, so a short sequence can sound different every time it's repeated. Absolute versatility. Also, playback can be 100% quantized, not quantized at all, or anything in between. You can automatically transpose entire sequences through a range of 6 octaves into different scales. On the front is a pressure-sensitive thumb button for pitch bending, and an internal microphone is activated automatically by an accelerometer when you lift the unit to your mouth. Loads of sounds. OPZ currently comes with 12 internal synthesis engines, including bowed strings, clustered oscillators, piano, bass, and a PCM sample player. More options are expected with future firmware upgrades. Also included are 16 sample packs, providing kicks, snares, miscellaneous percussion, and effects. It connects wirelessly to your mobile device, which acts as the graphic interface, including multi-touch. You can even snap a series of photos to sync to a sequence, creating an instant music video. Initiative layout. Performance parameters are controlled using 4 color-coded endless dials that are flush with the top surface. A series of 10 numbered buttons serves as a music keyboard for note entry, and another 24 or so specialized buttons handle all the other editing tasks. There are no velocity-sensitive drum pads. If you love Teenage Engineer products, you may well enjoy our in-depth Teenage Engineering one-op review. Pros: amazing flexibility to create unusual compositions. Multiple internal synth engines. Built-in virtual tape recorder. Final thought. Getting a sequencer for your synth setup is a big moment, whether you're upgrading or if you're just getting started. When you use sequencing as part of your music creation workflow, you open up entirely new avenues for sound creation. It's inspiring when you can play parts on your drum machines, modern synths, vintage synths, samplers, and more from a single sequencer brain.